6 more working days. Next Saturday is the deadline for Illinois state lawmakers to pass a new budget. They've got more issues than Iowa lawmakers did for their budget, and they worked overtime in Des Moines. Democrats in Illinois are trying to pass the largest budget in state history at the request of Governor J.B. Pritzker. This while trying to close a shortfall of at least $500 million, as well as uncertainty about how much support the state will get from the federal government. There are a lot of unanswered budget questions going to last scheduled week of Illinois' legislative session. We'll try to get some answers this morning from State Senator Mike Halpin and Representative Tony McCombie, also the House Minority Leader. Great to have you both back on the program. A lot of things I read that are related to the budget indicate that the state's revenues are likely to come in below earlier projections. That puts the state in a tighter squeeze than the already tight expectations. There's also the uncertainty about what the state will get from the federal government. How close are lawmakers to figuring out this budget? Senator Halpin, the Democrats do control it here.
I think we're on a path forward. The biggest problem is the continued uncertainty on the federal side. As you mentioned, our federal revenue projections are going to be, problematic at best. One day we hear one policy, the next day we hear a retraction. So we're going to do the best we can, given what we know for a fact here in Illinois in the upcoming week. But the folks in D.C. are certainly not making the job any easier.
Representative McCombie, how do you see those consequences?
Well, I think anything that's going to come out of the federal government should not be affecting our budget that we're having to deal with right now, because anything that is going to be happening is projected to start much later than even FY26. So this budget should be fine, and I don't think we need to worry about the Trump administration affecting, like you just said, our going into a $1 billion deficit. We need to be worried about agency mismanagement and, cutting where we can cut, not putting out energy proposals that are going to break the state. I think federal government is the federal government. We need to worry about ourselves right now.
What are the chances the state adopts a basic budget with the intent of coming back in session during the summer to hammer out more details? Senator Halpin?
That's not my preferred outcome. We want to do our jobs here. That's my intent. Obviously with the uncertainty that we talk about, it is a factor. So we don't know whether or not it'll be possible, but that is certainly my intent. We talk about the federal government and the policies that they're trying to implement. It does have a direct impact on us. We're talking about a federal government that wants to cut Medicaid expenses. We at Illinois think we should be providing low-income folks with health care. And if the federal government is not going to be a partner, that is going to cost us more money. And the people of Illinois should know that, and that's a consequence of what's going on in D.C. That ends up hurting our bottom line. Now, we're going to do our very best to backfill the federal government where we can in providing health care, providing food benefits and grocery benefits, funding transportation, even if the federal government doesn't want to fund infrastructure here in Illinois. Those are all things that we have a responsibility to do. So I'm hopeful that we'll still be able to pass a budget by May 31st. But again, unfortunately, the federal government, the way it is, we don't know what's going to happen on June 1st. So I'm always ready and available to come to Springfield to do my job, but I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to do the best we can by May 31st.
Representative McCombie, what do you think about the prospects of having to work into the summer?
Yeah, I think we will be done from what we're hearing from Speaker Welch. But again, when we're talking about cuts to Medicaid, we're not talking about cuts to Medicaid with folks with children. We're talking about, or people of need that are, for example, Illinois citizens. We're talking about cutting waste and fraud, and also for the illegal immigration. We shouldn't be giving them Cadillac insurance when Illinoisans don't have that. That's where you're going to see those cuts. It's not going to be on SNAP. It's not going to be on children and women that need it.
It's just not true.
It is. I am being accurate here, and I think we will have a budget by May 31st. I think the governor will probably want us to come back at some point to address any concerns that come out of the federal government. No different than with any new administration. Whoever it is, Republican or Democrat, has different initiatives, and if it does affect the state in a positive or a negative way, the governor and the majority party are going to have to address it. But I think we need to talk about what's going on here in Illinois, and you want to fix $1 billion deficit, you can start with the health care. for illegal immigrants.
The devil is going to be in the details. We'll see what happens ultimately. Governor J.B. Pritzker proposed increases in taxes on some gaming revenue during his budget address. That was before the revenue projections got worse. Republicans are sounding alarms. Democrats might adopt a tax on services. How seriously is this being considered? Representative McCombie, I saw this on your website. So is this something that you have credence to?
Oh, absolutely. And just yesterday, we heard not only on top of the service tax, but we're talking about a delivery tax, whether that is through DoorDash or Amazon per package. I don't really know how that would work out. Sounds pretty detailed. I think actually that comes out of the Senate is Senator Ventura has a bill I think is referencing that, if I remember correctly on who the senator was, but and maybe it's the start of a conversation, but the last thing that the state needs to be worried about is raising our taxes. I think, when we talk about our districts, and luckily, even last year with the increase of taxes on businesses and around the state, even Senator Halpin said, don't forget, where we live. And I think that's really important, that the budgets that come out of here affect all of us in our districts.
Senator Halpin, taxes on services and delivery?
So I know there are a lot of proposals out there. There's a wide variety of options that individual legislators have put forth. I don't think there's a consensus on any of those at this point. There have been proposals for service taxes for at least as long as I and Tony have been here, I think, and it hasn't happened. There hasn't been a political consensus on that. I think those discussions are probably going to continue into the next week, but again, there is no consensus on that at this point.
There is a lot in flux. Senator Mike Halpin, Representative Tony McCombie, hope to have you back on when we have more clearer answers. Thanks for your time. Good luck with everything in Springfield. That brings us to our question of the week. What do you think about the possibility of new taxes on services and or deliveries in Illinois to help balance the budget? Send your answer by email to fortherecord@whbf.com or respond to this post on Facebook at the Local 4 News WHBF TV page or on my page.